So, good evening, everyone. Welcome for the wonderful section today on the topic locus of control. I like to introduce the speaker for today, Ketana Swaminathan. Ketana Swaminathan is a sports and exercise psychologist and the founder of Think, Train and Perform. And she works with the state and national level athletes for mental conditioning. And she also works with school children on behavior modification through physical activity and sports. And apart from that, Ketana Swaminathan also works with many organizations in terms of performance psychology. She is also the author of When I Look Back, it was 21 already, and she is a marathon runner as well as a cyclist. I'm very happy to welcome the speaker for the day, Ketana Swaminathan, on the topic locus of control. Welcome.
Thanks, Kavita.
Thank you.
I'm just going to share my screen. Yeah, I hope all of you can see my screen. So today's topic is locus of control. Locus of control, the word locus means center. Okay. So locus of control means center of control. So basically, it means what we think or where we think we have or who is in control over a particular situation. So given any particular situation, your perception or your belief or your idea of who is in control of a particular situation is called locus of control. Now, this looks like a fairly simple topic. It might be simple, but it's not something that you can get very easily. Most of us can get confused between, I will be describing about internal locus of control and external locus of control. So I know it is, getting into that balance is a little tough. So I'm going to be teaching you how to get into the balance. What are the pros and cons of having an internal locus of control and external locus of control? So that's what we're going to be discussing today. So let me just go to the next slide. So what is locus of control? The extent to which people feel that they have control over the events that influence their life. So basically a situation. In any situation, the extent to which you feel you have or do not have control over that particular situation. Okay, so that is called locus of control. Now, let me give you a very, very simple example. I don't know how many of you have gone, probably towards a lake or a river or any water body. I'm sure as a child you would have gone, or maybe you would be taking your children over there. So let's just imagine there's a water body in front of you. There are a lot of stones, and as a lot of us like doing this, we take a stone and we try throwing it inside the water. Once we throw the stone, we see a ripple there, correct? So, which of the following was in your control? Was it the ripple or was it the throwing of the stone? Which of the following? Obviously, it is the stone. So, you pick up the stone, you throw it, correct? And the moment you throw it, your throw of the stone influenced the ripple, correct? So you see the ripple because you have thrown the stone. And if someone else has thrown the stone from somewhere else, you'll see another ripple. So because another person has thrown another stone, you will see another ripple, but it won't be the ripple which was influenced by your stone throw, correct? So locus of control could be different. So the moment you pick the stone, you throw it, that is internal locus of control, something that you were in control of. And then you have the ripple, which is influenced. So you throw the stone and that influenced the ripple to come. Now let's take, for example, you have a fracture or something and you're not able to throw the stone and you're not able to see the ripples, but you want to see the ripples, correct? Your, let's say a friend of yours is near you, or let's say your dad, your mom, someone is near you, and you go and ask them, hey, can you please throw the stone so that I can see the ripple? Now, although the other person has thrown the stone into the water, and although you see the ripple which was which was caused by the other person's throw, the locus of control was still in your hand because you asked the person to throw the stone, right? If you hadn't asked the person to throw the stone, it's up to the other person whether to actually throw it or not. But you've done what is controllable by you. So that is locus of control, things that you can do. Okay, so when you perceive that there are things that you can control, that is one type of locus of control. When you perceive that there are things that you cannot control, which is, let's say, influenced by other people, which, let's say, other people have decided and you feel like you are the victim of it, that is another type of locus of control, which I'll be talking about now. So basically, locus of control, simply put, it's the extent to which a person feels that they have or do not have control over the events that influence their life. Now, one of the major questions that I get asked, very often is that is a person's locus of control the same throughout a period of time? Is it the same across various, let's say, situations, right? Not really. Locus of control could change. It There are people who have internal and external locus. All of us have internal and external locus of control. In fact, it is good to have such locus of control, but we need to have a balance. So I'm going to anyway be describing what is internal and external, and I'll also tell you how to balance both. Now, does this locus of control play a role in our lives? Yes, of course. It influences the way we respond to things. The way we respond. So let's say we feel we have control over a particular situation. We would respond in a very different manner. When we feel that we don't have control over a particular situation, we'll respond in other manner, right? So it definitely influences the way we respond to situations. It's more like a filter. It's more like a mental filter that we have. Do I have control? Yes, then I would respond this way. Do I not have control? No, I don't have any control here. So I will respond this way. Correct? So it definitely influences the way we respond to things. It influences our motivation to take actions to do things. Now, let's say people who are very self-determined, people who have high motivation levels, if you wonder why or how they have such high motivation levels, it's because they predominantly have an internal locus of control. They don't like to blame other things. They don't like to blame other people. Hence, they're highly motivated to do a certain thing, to take a certain action, right? So in case you are lacking motivation and you really feel like you need to be more determined, it's not that you need to improve your motivation or anything. It's just that you need to work on your locus of control, which I'm going to be teaching you how to. And then influences our decisions. So imagine you feel that you have a responsibility towards a lot of things that you do in life. What happens to the decisions we make? We think twice. We want to be more accountable. We become a little more responsible, isn't it? So it does influences the decisions we take. So people who have people who are able to make better decisions do have a balance in terms of locus of control. Or let me put this the other way around. If you have a better locus of control, if you have a balance in both, it definitely does influence the way we take our decisions. And by decisions, I mean across all aspects, both personal, professional, let's say emotional, physical, anything for that matter, it does influences our decisions big time. Now coming to types of locus of control. As I said, there are two types of locus of control. One is internal locus of control, and the other is an external locus of control. Now, both are not two different things. It's just in the same spectrum. Okay, it's literally in the same line. It's just that the degree varies, and internal or external. There's no good or bad. There's no yes, you have to be only internal. No, you shouldn't be external. Yes, you should be only external. No, nothing like that. Um, both has its own pros and cons. So let's say internal locus of control, right? A belief that one's situation is in one's control. So by one's control, I mean one's actions and decisions. Okay. So let's say if I feel I am in control of a situation. Okay, let's take for example, there's no Wi-Fi. The net connectivity is pretty poor. Hmm? And I have to be taking the session over here right now. So although yes, Wi-Fi is something that I cannot be controlling, I do have other options to control this particular situation. Correct? So either I can switch on my hotspot and use the internet connectivity, or even if my phone battery is low and I'm not able to use the hotspot, then I probably should connect to another Wi-Fi. If that also is not happening, then I should communicate to the organizer, right? So the moment I know I am in control of the situation and I these are the things I can do, I do have an internal locus of control. Correct? Now, what is external locus of control? A belief that one's situation is in an other person's control. Okay, so you feel like you're at the mercy of someone else's actions and someone else's decisions. So a belief that one situation is because of someone else's decisions and someone else's action. So let's take the same example. Internet goes off, and I don't know what is happening, and I end up blaming the Wi-Fi. I don't try changing, I don't try doing anything, I end up blaming the Wi-Fi. I end up blaming the electricity, whatever it is, right? So that becomes external locus of control, and I don't look at what is the solution for a particular situation. So when I have an internal locus of control, I end up looking at what is the solution. When I have the external locus of control lens on, I end up looking at where is the problem. This is the problem. I end up complaining a lot more. So internal and external, a person can have both qualities. There's nothing correct or wrong, right or wrong about anything. It's just the way we look at things. Given that internal locus of control is a much better way of handling things, but it does have its own disadvantages. Okay, so I'll tell you why it has its own disadvantages. Although in internal locus of control, you do take charge of a situation, you are able to, address a particular problem with solutions. Too much of internal locus of control also makes you feel like, you know, you're the cause of things when things go wrong, you end up blaming yourself as well. I know a lot of people, when things were not in their control, they ended up blaming themselves because they had an internal locus of control that was a little too much. So we need to be having a balance of both. Again, external locus of control is also bad because you end up complaining a lot more. Okay, so we need to try having a balance. You can't be in either of the extremes. It needs to be a balance of both. Now, like I said earlier, all of us have both internal and external locus of control. And what what really determines, or what really is important, is what we do most of the time. Okay, and we can change an external locus of control to an internal locus of control, but you must first be aware that you have an external locus of control, or you need to first understand where is your locus of control. Okay, so I will be giving you a few pointers for you to understand and for you to kind of know where you are, whether you are predominantly internal or predominantly external. Now, where does this develop from? This develops from, let's say, parenting. Sometimes it might come from, let's say, you might end up looking at people, you might end up modeling people, wherein you see people, the way they talk, the way they respond to situations, and you might end up imbibing that thing. So that becomes your locus of control as well. So this is how locus of control is formed, and we can change it. There's again no right or wrong, we can change it. So, where is your control orientation? That's my question for today. Where exactly is your control orientation? Is it really important for us to know where your control orientation is? Of course, yes. It is very important for you to know where your control lies, where you feel your control is. Okay, let me tell you something. When we feel anxious, right? Most of us feel anxious. We end up feeling of fear, anger, frustration, or all the negative emotions come because we feel we are not in control of a particular situation, correct? Which means we have something called the external locus of control, right? You might be wondering why this locus of control topic has come in emotions, like rainbow of emotions kind of a series, because this particular filter, which is locus of control, actually impacts the way you feel or you emote. When you have an external locus of control, which is, I'm talking about predominantly external locus of control, what happens to you is that you end up feeling frustrated, nervous, irritable, anxious most of the time, which means you're going to be complaining most of the time because you feel you're blaming things, right? You're blaming other people. You're going to be feeling all the negative emotions most of the time. Whereas internal locus of control, you end up taking charge for a lot of things. You end up feeling more motivated, excited, let's say even aggressive, or wanting to put your foot down, assertive as well, when it comes to internal locus of control. So where does your control orientation lie? It is important for you to know where your control orientation lies. So if you do have a paper and pen with you, please note down which of the following is, is a way that you behave, so that you can understand whether you're predominantly internal or external. Now, either way, please don't feel bad. Okay, there's always a scope to improve, whether you're completely internal or completely external or a balance of both. We just need to keep aiming at looking at having this balance between internal and external. So let me just get to the internal aspect. So let's say if you are a person who shows the following traits, I'm just going to be reading it out in some time, then you do have an internal locus of control. Okay, so if it is, if you are a person who are more likely to take responsibility for your actions. So let's say someone gives you a work and you don't come back with excuses. You end up finishing the task and coming back with the correct date, correct time, whatever it is. Then you do have an internal locus of control. So if you're more likely to take a responsibility for your actions, be it good or bad, even if you make a mistake, if you're likely to take charge for your action, you definitely do have an internal locus of control. Tend to be less influenced by people, by opinions of other people. So why does a person who have an internal locus of control show this particular characteristic? Because they don't really care about what other people think. They feel they are in control of a situation, and they don't really get in. See, okay, they might take, let's say, other people's opinions once or twice, but then they won't get completely influenced by other people's opinions. So they won't base their actions on what will other people think. Okay, they won't completely base their actions on what other people will think. So tend to be less influenced by opinions of other people. So what do others think is definitely not a question for internal people with internal locus of control. Often do better at tasks when they are allowed to work at their own pace. So they would prefer to work at their own pace because they need autonomy. Autonomy means the freedom of making their own decisions, because they have to feel more accountable or responsible for their actions. So if you do feel that you prefer to work at your own pace, that it's more likely that you have an internal locus of control. And of course, having a strong sense of self-efficacy. Self-efficacy means knowing about yourself. Okay, so when you start knowing a little more about yourself, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, you end up definitely having an internal locus of control, because you understand that you are in control of a situation. So if you do show these characteristics, in addition to this, maybe not blaming anyone, not complaining very often. If there is a crisis, then being able to take charge over there, being responsible for one's own emotions, then it is internal locus of control. Okay. So if you are a person who does show most of these qualities, then probably are, let's say 70, 60, 70, 80% internal locus of control. So just please make a note of it. And then you have external locus of control. So suppose you do have an external locus of control. These are the following characteristics you're likely to show. Blame outside forces for their circumstances. Sometimes most of us say okay, it's raining, so I was not able to go there. Or, I didn't have the driver, so I was not able to travel there. Or let's say this was not available at home, so I couldn't make this. Correct? So blame outside forces for their circumstances. Often credit luck or chance for any success. So let's say you succeed at any point, you feel like you've done something, you've achieved something, you never give yourself enough credit. You never give yourself enough, enough appreciation for hard work. You often feel that it's mere luck that got you there. Okay. So often credit luck or chance for any successes, even if it's other person's success. Let's say your friend succeeded in a particular thing, or let's say someone else, you read a success story, you feel that it's luck or chance that's brought him or her to whatever success they've gone through. Okay. Don't blame that that they can change their situation through their own, they don't believe that they can change their own situation through their own efforts. Okay. So they feel any situation they're put into, they feel it's only through a chance that they've got there. First of all, they feel it's fated that they've gotten there. Second of all, they feel they don't feel, they feel that their own effort can't do anything there. They can't change anything through their efforts. So they don't believe that they can change their situation through their own efforts. Uh, Frequently feels hopeless or powerless in the face of a difficult situation. So most of the people who have an external locus of control, they feel hopeless and powerless most of the time, not just in difficult situations. See, every small thing would be a difficult situation for them. So even if it's just that they're sitting at home and they want to watch a particular episode or something like that, they feel that they can't do certain things. They feel hopeless. They feel they're a victim of someone else's decision. So only if someone else decides that they can watch TV or they can do something, they can do it. So they feel they're a victim of someone else's decision, someone else's action. So this entire victimization, right, comes to people who have this external locus of control. Because they end up blaming. They feel like a victim. They don't feel like they can take charge of a lot of things. Now, how do I maintain a balance between internal and external locus of control? Now, like I said earlier, I'm sure these qualities, which I had mentioned, a few seconds ago, both internal and external, would have made you understand whether you do have an internal or external locus of control. And like I told you earlier, it's not that you would be completely internal or completely external. You might have a change. It totally depends on the situation, how you perceive a particular situation, and you might be predominantly internal or predominantly external. It's definitely going to be a mixture of both. It's not that you will be 100% internal or 100% external, so don't worry too much about that. It's just that we need to maintain a balance. Okay. Things that are regarded external should be external. Things that are in your control should be internal. So there are a lot of people who interchange. They end up feeling things that they're not in control of is also things that they can control. So they end up blaming themselves for a lot of things that they are not in control of. That's why I said there needs to be a balance between both internal and external locus of control. You don't need to change your external completely to an internal. You just got to maintain a balance of both. And I'm going to be telling you how to do that. Okay. Um, the first and most favorite thing is control the controllables. Now, every time you find yourself in a situation where you feel things are going out of control, things are not going your way, look at what you can control. Okay, try controlling only the controllables. Now most of us fret, most of us become anxious, we end up feeling angry, frustrated, all the negative emotions because we try to control things that we cannot control. Now one thing we need to do is first accept that there are going to be things which are not in our control. Okay, there are going to be things that we can only influence but may not have a direct control of. Hmm? And there are going to be things which we do have direct control of, right? So there are things that we can control for sure. There are things that can get influenced by things that we control. And there are, of course, things that are completely out of our control and we can't really do anything about it. So at any point, try controlling what you can control. Now, the moment you start looking at what you can control, things that can get influenced will get influenced because there is a ripple effect. You remember the stone and ripple story, right? So when you throw the stone, you will find the ripple, correct? So it means you have to throw the stone. Only then you can see the ripple. So control the controllables. Throw the stone, then you can see the ripple. So it's very important. So tell the person that you want the stone to be thrown if you are not able to throw the stone. Whether he throws it or not, it's not in your control, but at least you influenced him to throw the stone, right? By asking something, you influenced him to do something, which the only thing you are in control of over there is asking that person to throw, right? So control the controllables. Do the things that take charge of the things you can control. Don't look at things that are completely out of your control. Okay, that will definitely ruin your happiness as well and definitely dampen your motivation. So the moment you take charge of things that you can control, you'll see other metrics getting better as well. And what happens is that boosts your motivation, that makes you feel extremely motivated and very determined because you end up seeing results as well, because things that get influenced also grows, isn't it? So then that changes, it changes the entire it changes everything over there. So the moment you start taking charge of things that you can do and only you can do, there's a lot that can change. That's the first thing. Okay, second thing is, take responsibility for things that you do. Respond, do not react. Now there is a difference between responding and reacting. I'll talk about responding and reacting a little later, but take responsibility for things you do. Just remember that everything is a choice. Everything is your choice. Whether you want to do a certain thing or not is your choice. It's up to you. Whether you want to complain about something is up to you. Whether you want something to fail or succeed is up to you. So it's very important for you to first understand and realize it's your choice. It is your choice whether you want to make it big or not, whether you want to make a certain thing succeed or not, is your choice. No one else can take credit for that. Okay. And there are a lot of things that you can take responsibility of. Okay. You can take responsibility for a lot of things, and that can change quite a few details. But the first thing you need to do is understand that it's a choice and it is your choice. Okay, the moment you understand it is your choice to make any decision and you do have choices and options, you end up responding and not reacting. So reacting is that thing that happens almost immediately. You don't even think twice. Okay, that's reaction. Whereas responding is, you look at the pros and cons, you think a little more about the future and then answer. You take time and answer. Okay, so that is respond. Okay, so what is most important here is respond, don't react. And when does that happen? That happens when you understand and know that everything is your choice. Everything is your choice. Okay, so that's the second point. The third point is model someone. Now, model someone. So the thing is, there are a lot of times when we do go through situations and we feel we could have handled it in a different manner, not really the way you would like to handle. So, you know, there are certain times you feel like handling things a lot better. So at that point, just think about another person. I think I've spoken about this as third person perspective, but think about this as, you know, looking at uh, it from another person's direction. Let's say a friend of yours behaves better in the similar situation. Start modeling him or her. Go ask him how would he react, or what is his take on a particular situation like this. Okay, so modeling someone, you can ask a person, or you could even think from his direction. But in locus of control, more than thinking from his direction, it's better you go and see how he responds to a particular situation. uh, that will be more helpful over here. And then what happens is you end up behaving like the other person. Okay, so modeling someone is an excellent way to do things if you're open to doing things, if you're open to behave like someone else. And if you do have a role model, if you really admire the way someone else reacts and responds to situation, then that's a great way to learn and change, because we have a variety then, right? We end up learning how to behave a certain way and how not to behave a certain way. So modeling someone is an excellent way of doing a certain thing, especially when you're confused and you don't have another way to look at a particular situation. And then comes being mindful. Again, mindful means being aware. Mindful means being fully present in that situation. I'm going to bring up being mindful almost every class because that's so important. That's really important. That's literally the crux of managing your emotions. Okay. So being mindful, I've just written be mindful here, but I'm going to give you a few pointers. Okay, so when you become upset, when you know you've become upset, there's a particular situation that's made you upset, that's triggered you to be upset, there are a few questions you can ask yourself. Okay, the first one, if you can make a note of it, the first one is, what feeling am I reacting to? What is the feeling that I'm reacting to? So there's something that's made you upset, there's something that's made you feel frustrated, and you react, correct? So your first question to yourself would be, this can be done either during or way after you've done the entire thing. So let's say you've shouted, and you've yelled at, or you were a bit short tempered at that point. So it can be little after that, when you are aware that, okay, this is how I responded. So you can get back home or wherever it is, you can just sit and introspect on this particular thing. So at that point, you can ask yourself, the first question would be, uh, what is the feeling that I'm reacting to? What feeling that I'm going through am I reacting to? What is that emotion? Okay, so that's the first question. What feeling am I reacting to? The second thing is this reaction of mine going to change anything, or is it going to make things better? The way I responded, the way I reacted, is that going to change things, or is it going to make things any better? That's your second question. Okay. Third question is my reaction going to prevent similar future situations? Is my reaction going to prevent similar future situations? And the fourth point is, can I produce better results or better, outcomes through a different reaction? Or can a different reaction of mine produce different outcomes or a better outcome? Okay. Four very powerful, very important questions. What feeling am I reacting to? Is this reaction going to be helpful? Is it going to make things better? Is it going to prevent future similar situations? can I react a better manner to produce better outcomes? Okay. Now, this doesn't mean, so, sometimes shouting will be the best way to respond. Uh, sometimes being calm will be the best way to respond. Being mindful doesn't mean you don't shout and things like that. It's just that you take charge of it. So the moment you take charge, the moment you be mindful of these things, you are aware that you shouted for a particular reason. You did something for a particular reason. What happens is that you take control for a particular situation or even your emotion. And that's the most important thing. So 4 questions. What feeling am I reacting to? Second, is this reaction going to change anything or make things better? Now, if it is not going to make things better, then you move on to the third question. Is it going to prevent some similar situations? Oh, no, it's not. If it is, then okay, go ahead. But if it's not, then can I react a better way? Can I respond a better way? That can change a lot of things. This is the way you reason it out, because most of the time, when we have an external locus of control, like I said, we end up having negative emotions. We end up having negative methods or negative feeling, right? So the moment we have a negative feeling, we end up looking at everything with a bias. Okay, so very important questions. And why have I written habits here? Any idea on that? It's because these things are things that you have to change, not overnight, but very gradually, and it's only habits that can uh, make it a permanent change. Okay, so these 4 tasks would be more of a habitual change. Control the controllables, take responsibility for your action, which means respond, don't react. Everything is your choice. Remember that. Okay. Model someone. If ever you get caught in a situation and you keep doing that on and on and on, make sure you model someone. You see another person and see how he or she has responded to a particular situation and try responding a certain way. And the fourth one, be mindful. Mindful meaning ask yourself these 4 questions. What feeling am I reacting to? Is this reaction going to be helpful to me? Is it going to give me better outcomes in the future? Is or is it going to prevent a certain outcome, this outcome? Fourth one is could a better, let's say, response or a reaction change and give me a better outcome? Okay, so these are the 4 changes that you can make, which can change your locus of control. Just remember, it's not going to be an overnight change, it's going to take time. And the other thing you need to remember is internal or external, there's no yes or no, there's no good or bad. It's just that both, you need to have a balance of both. Okay, and any questions along with this, please let me know so I can answer them right now.
Kirtana, you can stop sharing this presentation so that.
Yeah.
Kavita?
Yes, is there any questions? Hello.
I think someone has
typed.
Yeah.
Yeah, Uma, yes. Yeah, Uma, you can unmute and you can ask.
Kirtana, good evening.
Good evening.
I saw just all your 1 hour 45 minutes presentation.
Right.
Just wanted to know, like, it's a balance between locus of control is the balance between controllables as well. That is like internal locus of control and external locus of control, right?
Yes, very much.
When situations become more unpredictable, say in this COVID-19, where most of the layoffs is there and people are, I'm speaking in general, like, how can we tackle such a situation? Practicing mindfulness is one of the way, but it is so much pressuring at times when we see people where they are at the most pressurized situation. We cannot go and say that you have to practice mindfulness, because we see people suffering. So at this situation, how we can tackle or how we can suggest them to tackle the situation?
Okay, so this is a very, very relevant question, especially for the current time. So thanks for asking this question. The first thing you can do is there are a certain, like I said, that only when you throw the stone, you will see the ripple. So if you know what is the ripple that you want to see, try adjusting the outcome. I mean, try adjusting your action towards the outcome. So first look at what stone, I mean, whether you want to see the ripple or not, and try changing the action. So that's one thing you can do. The second thing is look at what you can control. There might be small things that you may not be aware of that you can control. There might be very small actions. Let's say, in terms of, I'm not sure in terms of your organization how it works. There might be very small actions that you can do that can change everything. That can probably influence the way things work out in the current situation, right? So there are two things you can do. Either look at the outcome and see what you can change in your actions. That's the first thing. The second thing is see what are the small things that you can do to change. I mean, in terms of controllables, right? There might be very small things that you are in control of. Try looking at that so that it can influence other things, which could change a lot of other uncertain, uncontrollables over here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I could add one particular point to the same question. Say, for
Sure.
example, when it is coming to controllables and uncontrollables, COVID-19 is an uncontrollable thing which is not under the control of a particular human.
Definitely.
So it is beyond the locus of control. Here, the mindfulness practice will really make us to be very calm and focused and how to handle the situation.
Definitely,
We
definitely.
we should able to differentiate between the controllables and uncontrollables.
Exactly.
Based on that only, the locus of control will really give you a very good impact for our actions.
100%. In fact, what is happening is a lot of people are blaming themselves during the COVID-19 situation, which is also wrong. There are a lot of people who work on, okay, I have to be productive. There are people who've not utilized the 3 months because they have an external locus of control. But there are people who also had a terrible, I mean, they have a extremely high internal locus of control and they blame themselves in terms of the COVID-19 situation. So they've taken responsibility of the entire organization going down and things like that. So, again, that's the reason I said we need a balance of both and actually being mindful of, what really are you in control of and what are you not in control of? Because like Mr. Prakash said, there are a lot of things which goes beyond anyone's control. Like example, the COVID-19 situation, right? So we can't really do anything about it. So those kind of situations, we need to be able to let go of things. That's very true.
Anybody else? Any other question you people have? You can unmute, raise your hand. Yeah.
Hello, hi Kirtana.
Hi.
So it's just a small doubt. Can you please help me understand the difference between reaction and response?
Response. Yes, sure.
There is quite smaller difference, but I'm not able to understand.
Yeah, definitely. It is a very thin line. There is a very thin line between reaction and response, but both are different things and it can make a huge difference. So reaction is something that happens at once, that something that happens spontaneously. Okay. So I say something, you react immediately. So reaction is something which is very immediate. You answer immediately, you feel immediately, you think immediately. That is a reaction. Response is when you take it slow and you end up slowly understanding, what's going on over there, and you try understanding what are the advantages and disadvantages, and then give it a thought, and then answer the question, and then implement a particular strategy. So let's say a person comes and gives you a feedback, or let's say he says, this presentation wasn't too great to you. If you're going to react, you're going to, let's say, either say, okay, yeah, I'm not great at all, I'm not good at all, or you might tell, let's say, I'm not going to be doing any presentation anymore. So that is reaction. When you respond, you might say thanks for the feedback. You might take some time to understand why a person has said this or that, or whatever the feedback was, and you're going to be putting it to use very constructively. So next time the same thing happens, you're probably going to change. You're going to, the entire, your thought process would change completely. You're not going to be against that person. usually when a person gives a feedback, negative feedback, what happens is that we end up looking at it very negatively, right? Over here, when you respond, you don't look at it negatively. In fact, you look at it very constructively. So that's the difference between reaction and response. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Kavita, probably we can go with one final question if anyone has.
Okay. So any
Yeah, I think
last
someone has raised their hand.
Ramesh, you can unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Kirtana, thank you very much for the wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
I find quite a lot of similarity between what you said today and the first habit of Steve.
I think he's muted himself.
No, sorry. Mistakenly muted him. Sorry, Ramesh.
Thank you, Kirtana. Thank you very much for this wonderful session. I find quite a similarity between what you told today and Stephen Covey's first habit, that is be proactive. But I am happy that you have given 4 questions which will make you from reactive to proactive. That is, what is the feeling, the way if the way I'm going to react, what changes it is going to be. So I thank you for that. So this is my comment. Anything you want to say on that?
Thank you. Thanks for this. Yeah, it's very important to be proactive than reactive. I think even now organizations have changed to being more proactive than reactive, right? So yes, thank you so much for attending the session and giving me this feedback.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and hope everyone's question is answered. If anyone have any doubts or clarification, you can ask now, or if you want to connect later to Kirtana Swaminathan, you can connect. Okay, fine. So thanks everyone for joining today's section, and hope it was useful to everyone. Locus of control is clearly explained by the speaker, and how being proactive is very important in terms of in our current working environment. Hope you will definitely implement what has been learned today in your organization and reap benefits and get some positive feedbacks. Thank you so much for joining for the section. Have a great weekend. We will meet next Saturday with other wonderful topic. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kirtana.